So it's been about a week, and I haven't done any videos because I figured I'd let the other one soak in. And this real talk is just me rambling, like most real talks. So, listen or don't listen. It's up to you. So I was just telling my dog, well, my dog is gone. Where, I don't know. I imagine she's chasing cosmic squirrels somewhere. But I talk to her often. Somebody gave me a Christmas ornament with her picture on it. And so I have it hanging in the van so that whenever I look in the rearview mirror, I can see her. I was just telling her how I feel a lot of guilt because unfortunately she passed away and I wasn't there. She was with friends and she passed away at night in her sleep. And she looked peaceful when we found her, but anyways, I've always felt that guilt, of not being there. I'm sure some of you have gone through that with either a pet or a family member. It's not any easier really any other way. Meaning, I've lost friends and I've lost animals and I've never lost a child. I can imagine that's probably a lot harder, but anyways, I was sitting here talking to my long lost friend and I was telling her how I felt bad because I wasn't there, but also that I probably wasn't the best of friend to her even. I never really thought of her as my dog or a dog. She was literally my soulmate, I think we often term soulmate into something that has to do with love, but your best friend could be your soulmate just as much, it's crazy. People put a play on words and make it mean one thing where it could mean many, but I believe she was my soulmate. We found each other late in life and at the right time. She was actually my neighbor's dog. And when I quit drinking, I asked the doctor, I had a lot of weight on me because I was drinking, and the doctor said, you need to start exercising and get rid of some of this weight. And I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, go for walks. And I said, who the hell am I supposed to go for walks with? And he's like, well, some of your friends. And I said, all my friends are at the bar. And that usually makes people giggle. But I was coming down the stairs one day from my apartment and I look across the street and over the fence is a dog just staring at me. And I knew her. Grace, I've known her a while. She's a neighborhood dog and we'd hang out. But she's looking at me like, take me for a walk. And I was like, all right. So I started taking her for a walk. And then you might hear a crow in the background. I've been feeding the crows where I hang out, make these audios, and they go a little crazy now when they see the van. They've been bringing me little trinkets, so that's kind of cool. But anyways, her owner, a friend, a neighbor, good person, I made a deal with her. I said, hey, can I walk Grace? And she's like, yeah, not a problem, I said, oh, by the way, can I do laundry at your house? And she said, yeah, not a problem. Walk Grace 3 times a day. So it was a long-standing deal, but eventually her mom, my friend there, she passed on, and Grace was moved around between the family, but she was mine. She was mine. I took her out. I did all kinds of things. I took her to the vet. I did all that. And not a thing against the family. It was their mother's dog, and the family was busy. They all had kids and everything, so I did what I could do, She was quote-unquote my dog in that way, but she was my best friend. When I quit drinking, that dog helped me stay off the bottle. I'll go saying that to the day I'm gone. Like, there's many factors, but that dog, she helped me. Every time I was thinking about the bottle, she'd come over, put her without saying anything. Obviously, she's not going to understand me anyways, but she'd just come over, put her head in my lap, or tug on my jeans or something, you know. I always thought it was funny, you know, like that was during our heyday was during my Christian walk. And I couldn't think of a better way of God to put his grace on me than to put grace in my life. Speaking of that real quick, one winter, and I think it was around 2020, me and Grace were outside in the snowstorm. We were shoveling out our neighbors' cars and stuff, and Grace was barking, and I looked at her and looked up, and she's looking up, which is weird because you don't really see dogs look up that much, but she was looking right up into the clouds. And as I looked up, the clouds broke a little bit, and there was a circle of blue sky and sun, and in it were I almost said angels because it's what it looked like, but they were seagulls. They were way up, and the clouds broken open, and they were flying above the clouds. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen, if not top 3 most beautiful things I've ever seen in my 51 years. And I would have never seen it if it wasn't for Grace. You know, I felt so much inspiration from seeing that. I mean, here I am outside, it's 30 degrees out, it's, you know, pouring down snow, it's a nor'easter. I'm, you know, probably 47 at the time trying to shovel all this snow after smoking a pack a day, you know. I looked up and I saw that, and to this day, you know, it changed something in me. Anyways, she was my best friend. She is my best friend. I don't really know what this whole thing was about. I mean, I think it was about me talking about friends and all that, and I was saying to her that, you know, I probably wasn't the best friend that you had, but I was there for what it meant, I think. I think after her mom died, you know, like, she was humanless, kind of, in a way, you know. And so I try to take her out and hang out with her. I'd take her out, hang out with her, be her buddy. You know, I'm not a really good friend. You know, I'm the friend that I'll do my best, but I don't really. That's lying. That's wearing a mask. I do what I can. I don't know if I do my best at what I can, but you guys, anybody that listens all the way to this in, you know that I've talked about friends before and how sometimes you got to let them go. But there's certain friends that, you know, I didn't have to let go. It was my own fault because I wasn't there, you know. But I think my excuse is kind of this for it is that I have a lot of people in my life and that were in my life that some of them need less friendship, but just, you know, connection, and some of them need more friendship or more plus connection. And my problem is that I give more to the people that want less, and I give less to the people that need more. And I've just never been able to rearrange that. I've tried. I just, you know, I get to a point in the last year or so that I can't really bend over backwards. And it's not about bending over backwards. I don't mean like they're needy. I'm just saying, like, I can't do both of them. I try to find a middle line, a middle walk for everything. Negativity, positivity, bad, good, you know, white, black, whatever. I try to find a middle ground, but when it comes to that, I'm not very good at it. Or maybe it does. I mean, I don't really think it matters, so I can't really say I'm not good at it, but what I'm getting at is, like, you can't please everybody, unfortunately. I did my best to please Grace, but there was plenty of times where she would have rather have had beef jerky than a dog bone. But I think trying to find perfection in love or friendship or any kind of relationship is pretty idiotic. You know, we all say, well, nobody's perfect, and I would, you know, wholeheartedly agree with that. But it's funny how we seem to want perfection out of our relationships and you know, our personal lives, and that's just silly. It's silly because your partner will never be perfect. You will never be perfect. You get in arguments all the time about her not being perfect or you not being perfect because you're arguing with her about some defect that you see in her, all the while knowing that you as well have the same defect, if not something similar to it. We always hate on the things that we own ourselves. You know, there is no perfection in any of this. The only perfection in any of it really is what you see outside of everything that man has made. I mean, there's perfection in nature. You know, even the things that we despise, or the things that we're afraid of, hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes and, you know, people drowning by undertows, the things that we hate or are scared of, it's still a perfect chaos. That's the only perfection I see. There's going to be changes. There's going to be evolutionary steps within nature that things may not appear normal anymore, but that's by human standards. But as far as perfection, if you want perfection, go to a river, feed some crows, and just watch everything in front of you. But don't look for it in your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your husband or your wife or your family members or your best friend or your work relationships or anything like that, because you won't find it. There is no such thing as perfect. Not by human standard. Unless one of you, I'm sure one of you will try to argue that point. And please do, because that's what the channel is for. But I don't see it. So when I sit here and I almost come to tears thinking about how I wasn't there for my dog that day, I have to think, well, I'm not perfect. I wasn't perfect then, I'm not perfect now, and I won't be perfect in the future. And neither will you. No matter if you agree with me or not. So every time that we, blame ourselves for not putting enough effort or not being there for somebody, or worse, when we accept the guilt and the shame that those people put on us and make us feel that way, which is even harder to come off of than when you do it to yourself, all you have to remember is you're not perfect. You never were, you never will be, and you aren't right now. And you'll be surprised how much of a load that takes off your shoulders. I wasn't a good friend. I wasn't a good husband. I wasn't a good brother. I wasn't a good father. I wasn't a good uncle. I wasn't a good lot of things. But I'm not perfect. I did what I could do. Maybe not enough of it, but I did what I did at the time. And at this point, have I fixed much since then? No. But I understand more than I did then. And that makes a big difference in your daily walk. I hope this made sense to some of you. I love you all. Walk in light.
Grace, what is this? Is that a ball? Is that a ball? You want the ball? Go get it. Where'd the ball go? Where is it? She's digging for it. This is kind of torment, but oh my God, look, unlimited balls. There's balls everywhere. I love this dog.